so many stories about what you do and what your life has been like.
Whenever you are stressed, the first thing that affects your gut.
Science tells us that we have about 30 trillion human cells and about 39 trillion bacterial cells.
So who's driving who?
At 6 o'clock every evening, I need to have some weed and some alcohol.
Both?
Every day.
Both?
Every day, yes.
60-year-old, not bad.
Yeah.
So you are being a bad manager to your own
Yeah.
self because you're making them work longer hours. So you're saying if I had a healthy gut, but I had a bad boss, and I'm stressed, or I'm going through some relationship issues and I'm stressed, something that used to digest really well and work well for my system suddenly has changed?
Yes, obviously.
We are about 99% similar to monkeys, 90% similar to mouse, 60% similar to the banana.
Our patterns in our life, they get reflected in our gut.
It is deeply ingrained in us. And as we started off, what makes us human is a lot of these microbes.
There are people who function very well with just 5 hours of sleep.
These are the metabolites produced only by the gut bacteria, and these gut-derived metabolites will be produced only by your gut, which is rich in specific gut diversity and abundance. So all of our health claims should be backed with scientific evidence. Without scientific evidence, nobody will believe you.
People come to us to address sleep and stress issues a lot. A good healthy body would require at least 30 varieties a week. As a baby comes through the vaginal birthing passage, a lot of the bacteria are passed on to the baby naturally.
Welcome on board, Bipin. A very interesting topic of gut health and the gut brain health itself.
It's a good welcome.
So I want to dive deep in, but we want to start big. Can you start from the real beginning?
Thank you for having me, Sowjanya. It's a pleasure to be here on your show, Attitude Makeover.
Intro has not been my forte, okay? So even when we started, he called me outside. So how are you going to introduce? We are going to start the conversation afterwards. If we need an intro, we will figure that out. But Bipin, thank you so much. Bipin
Pleasure to be here.
is a school friend of mine, a classmate of mine from school days, and is the founder of IOM, a new age gut science company, and is disrupting the space in India. Happy to have you here.
I'd like to disrupt it a lot more, and I think we and the team have to work a lot more at really disrupting it, but the opportunity exists.
Yeah, I hope you grow and thrive and really help quite a lot of people who really need this. With that, thank you so much for being here. I want to start right from the beginning, the Big Bang.
I like that. The Big
Talk
Bang.
to me about the Big Bang, the cells, and today, what's our gut like?
Oh, that's so you want to do all this in like 5 minutes?
Yes.
Rapid accelerated expansion of the universe kinds. So the Big Bang happened 13 billion years or so, but let's start much later, like about 4 billion years ago, which is when 4 billion odd years ago when when Earth formed and life forms started happening on Earth. Life forms started happening on Earth about 2.75 billion years ago. What's now known as 2.75 BYA. That's the acronym that's used. So when life forms started happening, and when Earth was filled with different kinds of gases, wasn't oxygen rich like this, and we had these unicellular beings, organisms, so to say. Those pretty much are our ancestors. Until I got into this, and probably if you ask my son even now, well, he's in 9th grade, maybe he'll be better informed. But if you speak to somebody, most people will tell you that our ancestors are chimpanzees. But if you look back at evolution, chimpanzees are pretty much about 15 million years ago. That's it. So if you go way back in time, it's different microbes, and these microbes are the ones that did a lot of were involved in the process of terraforming, which start with what they say. I mean, as our original ancestors was this one archaea, it's a being called archaea, which engulfed another being, another bacteria. I think it is proteobacterium, if I'm not wrong. And this became what is mitochondria in our, which is there in every cell of ours. That's the storehouse of energy. So that's starting from there, and this new being now, this mitochondrial being, engulfs another bacteria. I think this is called cyanobacterium, if I'm not wrong. And this became this organism that had chloroplast, and this could convert, or because of photosynthesis, can take the carbon dioxide from the whole earth, so to say, and give out oxygen. Now I'm possibly going way back in time, but so microbes played foundational roles in shaping us, shaping the planet, shaping the people and the planet, really. Now all of this, for organisms to cooperate is very different from what we all learned in school about the theories of survival of the fittest, competition, and how competition brings out the best in us. But it turns out that cooperation leads us into, or was responsible for larger, or rather bigger, epochal shifts in our evolution. So starting from there, and I think I may have spoken too much. I hope that your audience doesn't get bored about all this. But starting from there to now, to the discovery of genes. I guess Mendel is called the father of genetics. But the whole thing about genes came in during the late 1900s, early 2000s, when the structure of the double helix, structure of the DNA was found, and that's when we started understanding more about the role genes play in us. So I think somewhere around then, different nations went on to create what's called the Human Genome Project. I may have my numbers the dates slightly wrong, but somewhere in the year 2001 is when this whole, the Human Genome Project's findings were announced, the first one. At that time, the gentleman who announced it, for geopolitical reasons, let me not quote names, but he said, now we are closer to finding the mind of God. That is what they said and announced these findings. They said we have about 23,000 genes. 23,000 genes, and among the other things, of course, that we are about 99% similar to monkeys, 90% similar to to mouse, 60% similar to the banana, and so the genes is the software that makes us the hardware. That's how I would put it simply. And we didn't seem to have so many of these software code. When I come from a technology background, we didn't seem to have that much. Very different software code. And yet we were so different. We are the most complex being on the planet. That's what people look at us as, the supreme, or the epitome of God's creation. But it didn't seem like it, because our code was similar to most of the others. Because this threw the whole religious, scientific, political fraternity into a tizzy, and they said, if this is what it is, what makes us so different from the rest of them? And of course, all these teams went into possible discussions like this. Many, of course, they didn't have podcasts then, but many talks and all that, and they came to the conclusion that we have and had. Again, this is thanks to Leeuwenhoek, who discovered that we have bacteria, that we have a lot of bacteria.
Which year is this?
This is probably in the year 2000 between the years 2001 and 2007, because in 2007 is when they started the Human Microbiome Project. The Human Microbiome Project was constituted to figure out how many microbes do we have, how many microbial genes do we have. That went on for about 9 years. They announced their final findings in 2016. But of course, in the meantime, the data started coming out, as in the role microbes play. So I told you 23,000 genes. Do you want to hazard a guess how many microbial genes we have?
I came a little prepared for this conversation. Microbial genes. No, I don't want to take a guess.
I thought you came prepared. What is this?
No, I know the bacteria in our gut. Microbial genes. What is that?
Oh, well, these are the, I mean, see, genes are, like I said, what codes, what protein, I mean, these 23,000 genes code the proteins that make us.
Okay.
And like this, there are several genes that make up different bacteria.
Okay.
So if you were to, so moving rapidly in time for the purpose of keeping this conversation exciting, they said that they announced that we have between 2 million to 20 million bacterial genes, which means if you look at our 20,000 human genes, we have 100 times more bacterial genes in us than human genes, to 100 times to 1,000 times more. So I mean, you can start there, saying how much more genetically we are bacteria than human. So if you're all, if you talk about what makes us human, looks like a lot of bacteria make us human.
So we are a universe. Each one of us is a universe in itself in that case.
Yeah. And I was speaking at a thing recently, and I was looking up
Wow.
again to get informed. Apparently, there's a treatise in the Yajurveda which goes by Yat Finde Tat Brahmande, which of course, I mean, you must have understood when you say Brahmande. That means man is a microcosm of the universe. That as is the universe, so is the man, or is the other way around. Perhaps as is man, so is the universe. So yes, our ancient texts kind of allude to the same thing, that we are a universe of our own. This also went into, there's Acharya Charaka who authored the Ayurveda. I mean, a lot of the foundations of Ayurveda. So he also had a whole called Nyaya, which goes by Loka Samhitas, something to that effect. Maybe you can find that out. Locus, whatever. I'm forgetting that right now. But which also means that man is a microcosm of the universe.
Can you find what is that? We'll continue. Come back.
Oh, great. So yes, man is a microcosm of the universe. But let me not move far away from this. The numbers, data of what constitutes us. While there is a number of genes, and we seem to be at least 100 times to 1,000 times genetically more bacteria than human. We also have, now science tells us that we have about 30 trillion human cells and about 39 trillion bacterial cells. So even if you look at the number of cells that make us, apparently there are more bacterial cells than human cells.
39 trillion.
Yes. I mean, that's the number that's floating around.
Like all of us.
Yeah.
Each one of us carry that many bacterial cells in us.
Yes.
Wow.
That's what science tells us now.
Wow. So who's driving whom? I mean, it doesn't look then that, my mind is telling, hey, sit here and talk to Bipin. It seems like this universe is then...
So this has opened up this whole can of worms. Pretty much like what you're saying. And do we really need to revisit some of these concepts about, what's driving us is possibly more philosophical. But even if you have to look at what's causing what, is our body causing something, or is it the bacteria that's causing something to the body? So in many cases, which the team that has been working on, different teams that we are working on, all of this has seen that it's bidirectional in nature. That it could be that the gut affects the brain, for example, and the brain affects the gut. Therefore, to take that backwards, it could be that the bacteria is affecting certain health conditions. Certain health conditions are affecting the bacteria. So we don't have clear answers to that yet. Well, if you realize, you must have noticed that it's a fairly nascent
journey of the
nascent science, so to say. And maybe about 2 decades at the most. These 2 decades have, I would say, pretty much turned the whole medical field on its head. I could be, the future could turn this around and say I'm wrong, but where we are going and what findings are coming out every day seem to indicate this. I think I've spoken a lot for your first question. What's the second one?
See, I don't have questions. It's a conversation, but I've come a little bit. And yet I don't talk numbers because I don't have a great memory over here sitting on the side. I think one curious question is also then about the environment, right? Like you talked about the Big Bang and how the gases were different and how oxygen started really changing the game. What's the environment inside? It's also full of gases and chemicals.
Chemicals for sure. I don't know about gases. That depends on what you eat. But,
So fart is collected in your body itself, right? It's there in your body, isn't it?
but I think most of these are constrained to certain areas of the body.
Okay.
And doesn't because there are different barriers, and different barriers keep out. For example, there's a blood-brain barrier, which certain things don't cross. In your gut, there's your epithelial lining, acts as another barrier. So different boundaries which we have evolved to have keep away certain things. But to answer your question about, and or rather to shift your question to from this to microbes, it's there in us all, in us, over us. Skin has a huge number, but the largest amount of bacteria is supposed to be in your gut. Again, there are different papers that keep coming up, and since it's an evolving science, it's a science that's fairly new. Whether you want to call the gut or the gut bacteria as an organ, as a new organ, is work that is going on. But it's that important.
Wow.
And if you now look at, there is a lot of work that's happening in what's called the gut-brain axis. In fact, we work a lot on the gut-brain axis. As we progress, my team will talk about what are things we're doing in the gut-brain axis. But there's also the gut-liver axis. There's the gut-skin axis. There's the gut-muscle axis. Numerous different connections, correlations that they're seeing. Correlations yet. And a lot of, at the same time, while we know there are a lot of correlations, the work on finding causal connections are also happening. Sometime last year, there was this announcement of having of certain bacteria playing the causal role in Alzheimer's. There's new work that also speaks about how Parkinson's could have a gut-first role, which means that, and this has come out from a study published in the Harvard Gazette, that talks about all the people that they studied who have Parkinson's. And out of this, about 76% of the people that had Parkinson's apparently had a gut issue about 14.6 years before.
Wow.
And of course, these are correlations. I was reading a very interesting paper very recently means day before yesterday, that was published about how a microbial metabolite called quinidine, or quinidinic acid, plays a big role in regulating our appetite. So, well, we do know ghrelin and all regulates appetites. Maybe the precursors to some of these so-called chemicals, hormones, whatever, metabolites really, have the origins in different bacteria, is what we are coming to find.
Did we know this before? Because in India, if you actually look at our food to everything, it feels like then it's thought through.
So most cultures that have evolved, right? I mean, if you look at the Indian society, if you look at Chinese, and these are the closest, all of them know the role the gut plays in overall health. While there's a lot attributed to Hippocrates, who said that starts in your gut, the starts in your gut is basic in Ayurveda. In fact, that's why they have all these what they call bastis or enemas, which cleans out your gut. I mean, they cleanse your colon, cleanse your gut, and then when you cleanse your colon, pretty much everything goes away. As a means to starting any major cures. Traditionally, we seem to have known some of these things. It's that I don't know how many of them really thought about bacteria. Because when I was making this presentation, my colleague did send me a text about krimi being there in some of our Ayurvedic texts, and krimi, of course, is bacteria. I don't know whether they all envisioned such a big role. But right now, the roles that bacteria play is becoming increasingly larger and increasingly important to our fundamental health.
Okay. So I think one thing I'm still trying to understand here is for someone who's listening or who's watching this, how do they know that this is for them? What are things that they might be experiencing that potentially could make them start on this journey of becoming aware of their gut health?
I don't think there's a question of who should pay attention or who. It is for everybody. It is deeply ingrained in us. And as we started off, what makes us human is a lot of these microbes. What impacts us in our mental and physical health, in how we are, um, in all forms and function, microbes play a role. That is certain. How much of it, don't know yet. We're seeing it go from almost near insignificance to sizable significance. So, people listening to this, it could not. It's not just about gut playing a role in gut, right? It's about gut playing a role in your overall health. So if you look at just the gut, it could be bloating, flatulence, um, constipation, diarrhea, abdominal pain. It could be this that are connected to the gut. But it's not just these. It is about how the different bacteria that are there affect beyond the gut. And I don't even know how I can say that. It's that you could start looking at um, different health conditions, which even I mean we have a doctor in the UK who looks at curing his patients who come to him. He's an orthopedician with pain in their joints. And one of the first things he says is almost 50% of the people, he says, get cured if you address their gut. So people who go to him for orthopedic issues, he says, as a first level of treatment, I send them to the gastroenterologist, and he looks at them, and it's one of the easiest ways to cure inflammation is through the gut.
Interesting.
So if you were to see that, you just take that, you realize that as unconnected as orthopedic issue could have a gut connection.
So are you saying then this line of medical science becomes a new line or a skill that will be in demand in the future because we can't ignore the gut and the overall health of us
Well, I
itself?
like to say I'm claiming it, but there's several people before me have gone on to say, several prominent people, including statements by the Howard Medical School about how understanding the microbiome and how understanding therapeutics from the eyes of the microbiome is pretty much going to change medicine. Even prominent folks in India have said that how this is going to change medicine.
How large is this market?
Much smaller than what it can become. But yes, it should be. We believe it's, and that's why we as a company are working in this, right? We've seen it rising from our own business that goes out, and I would say that's insignificant, at least 10 times in the last 1 year. But we're a small company. The landscape in India of different solutions coming in that addresses the microbiome. Well, I saw a new shampoo that my wife uses that says microbiome. I also am aware of certain prominent cosmetic companies having or introducing several premium ranges with probiotic strains, with bacterial strains.
Yeah, I see a lot of skincare also coming
That's correct.
with those, right? Like snail
Sure.
creams and
That's possibly not the microbiome really, or possibly not bacteria really. But different bacterial strains being included in cosmetics
Oh,
has
yeah?
have also risen,
Interesting.
and I think it will continue to rise.
So, from the larger landscape that Bipin drew for us, to going actually into the reality of what's happening there. He sort of gave us an idea that literally many things in our life is centered around our gut. It's no longer a swamp, it is a proper lab.
True.
What does the lab bring to you?
Stories. So many stories about what you do and what your life has been like. What have you been eating? And things that we don't realize are patterns in our life, they get reflected in our gut. Small things that we believe are normal parts of our life. Probably we have a toast in the morning. Every morning we have toast. It shows up in your gut. Not as toast, but probably as the fact that you're having processed foods. So your gut tells stories of what your life, your choices are like. And it doesn't lie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's like everything.
There is a difference between thinking about the gut as a diagnostic and thinking about the gut as a storyteller. So a diagnostic would mean that if I'm sick, like a blood marker, it should show up in my gut, either through some bacteria or an overabundance of a particular group. However, it's more indicative. The balance, the imbalance, the inflammation, the dysbiosis is more indicative. We have a lot of users who do come to us who show patterns of respiratory imbalance. It could be as severe as asthma, or it could be repetitive respiratory tract infections, or COPD, which is, in my mind, as a non doctor person, is more of a mechanical error. There is something, then some body part that's not working.
What's COPD?
Obstructive pulmonary disorder. So, chronic obstructive pulmonary disorder. So, however, the gut is more indicative of what path your body is taking. Where is it going with it? If there are bacteria that increase insulin resistance, it may not be that you're already diabetic, but it could mean that now your body and its functions are no longer supporting you in your fight with insulin resistance. So you might not have a diabetic HbA1c above 6, but it would mean that your body is on the path to insulin resistance. Which also is exciting because it also means that you can slow or stop the process.
Can change the path.
You can change the path. And that's where we all are. And that's what gives us hope about the microbiome. That there is something in this magic box that can not just determine health, but also make a path to better health.
So in India, when I read about our topmost illnesses, it's primarily heart, respiratory, and then
Gastrointestinal.
Gastrointestinal, right?
So here's how we look at it: is the gastrointestinal system itself literally traverses from the top to the bottom, right? It starts at the mouth and it goes all the way to the rectum. So input, output, and everything in between. So the gastrointestinal tract also connects with every other part of your body. And therefore, something that originates in the gut is bound to touch things that we have never associated it with. Your skin, kidney, liver, lung, brain. It touches all the organs. It touches all the axes. I don't know. I mean, I think in most cultures in India, we grew up learning from our families that, if your stomach is good, if your tummy is good, you're dealing with everything else. You're if not preventing, but at least alleviating a lot of issues. There were specific foods for specific illnesses. There were specific drinks we drank. Dry cough, one kada. Wet cough, another kada. Can we connect all that to the gut bacteria? It certainly helped. Create a better balance in the gut. So the gastrointestinal problems, considering the way the country is progressing with more and more emphasis on processed foods, more and more emphasis on packaged foods, it's inevitable. Added to that is the stress, If you're in Bangalore, then the traffic jams. If you're working in IT, ITES, BPO sectors, then the insane work schedules. And of course, work schedules like yours, where there's a lot of travel. There's a very uncertain time schedule. All that's going to impact your gut and thereby every aspect of your health.
And what about relationships and social side of it? I'm not just talking about lifestyle, but does that have an influence as well?
Um, on a generic basis, one would say yes. Like I said, all this goes to release happy hormones in our brain, and those happy hormones are connected to the gut. So, the happier your environment is, the happier your gut is, and vice versa. The happier your gut is, the happier your mind is. So, yes, the relationships that you form and how open you are to forming those relationships. It's as simple as saying that you're not well, say, or at the risk of sounding too much into the subject, and it's something that we all dwell on. You're constipated. You don't want to meet people, right? You're like, just leave me alone. You're crabby. You're annoyed, and you haven't gone for 3 days, and you're like. So everything is interconnected. Your mind, your mood, and your overall well-being.
Can I dive deeper?
Please.
What comes to you more, stress issues or respiratory issues? Give me a perspective of how is that divide, and is there an age group that suffers from each one of this, or it applies to all?
That's a nice question. If I dwell on it just one bit, people come to us to address sleep and stress issues a lot, and very interestingly, I don't know if I can put a percentage to it, but a large percentage of them, as much as maybe 70-80% of them, have gastric issues. And those gastric issues could include bloating, flatulence, constipation, and maybe also diarrhea. So you're addressing one part of the system. One part is your focus right now, because that is not allowing you to function well. But these deep-seated problems like, very regular constipation, it doesn't drive you to the doctor, but you deal with it. You live with it every day. You might take some over-the-counter drugs and relieve every couple of days, but it's something that you have just pushed at the back of your mind that this is it. You've made peace with it. So at IOM, we see a lot of people who come to us with sleep and stress issues, and there is an underlying digestive issue as well.
Are you saying sleep can be solved with food?
That's where we are heading. A lot of sleep is disturbed because of food. A lot of the neurotransmitters that are produced in the gut, serotonin, precursors of serotonin, dopamine, all these are, and the GABA that the bacteria produce, these are neurotransmitters, metabolites that actually impact not just the microbial circadian rhythms, but also work with us to impact our circadian rhythms. They impact what is happening in our mind and how relaxed the mind is or is not. So the hypothesis being that if you're able to impact the bacteria that are producing these neurotransmitters, you are on the route to actually impacting the condition itself. That's the theory that we work on, that you impact the bacteria produces certain metabolites, these metabolites impact certain conditions. So either feed these bacteria or don't feed them. So that way you are literally impacting the whole chain.
So you're saying garbage in, garbage out, and your garbage out.
Absolutely.
That's what you're saying.
Yes.
So this is probably why I fall in love with your body, understand what your body needs, because we are a universe that we carry. My God, this is such a profound statement.
Absolutely.
Correct, right?
Yeah.
So we need to know our body well.
Yes. Also, I think we don't understand the enormity of what we are eating, what it does to our system. And there is so much of generic information available. And I think you started this conversation by saying everybody knows. The whole world knows everything. And you have all the smart chat GPTs. All you do is type in something. But what do you know about yourself? What do you know that particular brown rice or that quinoa or that kale or the kefirs that you're consuming, what is it doing to the bacteria inside? Do you already have a lot of that bacteria? And you go in and take some more. So it's like you wouldn't take, vitamins and minerals and maybe even calcium without a doctor's recommendation. Why would you take these without at least a guide or a look into what is happening in your gut before you take these in? And I mean, a case in point was a user who had come to us who was taking 9 supplements just by reading the internet, just by reading it on the internet. And his gut was in complete dysbiosis, completely off. So one of the things we look for is the diversity of the gut. It's quite debated. Is that the only metric? No, it isn't. It's one of the preliminary metrics. And the more diverse the gut, the more bacteria you have in your gut, the healthier we assume is your system. And you take in all these supplements, which maybe your body needs or doesn't need, and you actually are literally playing with the balance in your gut. So the bacteria already are doing their role. They are designed that way. Your environment, the food that you take in, and Bipin was talking earlier about the delivery process you've been through, all that has defined your gut to an extent, your travel, all that. The way you can enhance it and the way you can do better with the gut is by limiting or at least being mindful of what you're putting inside it.
How does I think not everybody has access to IOM.
Yes.
But for someone who's we've got the attention, they are in this, they tune into this, what's the first set of steps? Now that I know, okay, this is a universe I'm carrying, I am a universe, which is like pretty powerful in itself, like just walking around my universe, your universe, hello there. Okay. From there to just stepping back and becoming aware of what's going into this universe as a result of it, how is this universe affected? Where do I start?
With my vested interest in mind, on the science side, I would say get a microbiome profiling done. However, the common sense thing is something that, like I said, we've been doing all our lives, right? Our parents, our grandparents, their parents, not just bought vegetables as was available in the market and as was available as per season, but the emphasis was on eating every kind of locally grown produce, right? So the body thereby was well equipped to handle the environment, handle the food that it's taking in as per the season it's eaten in. Which also made sure that, and when I was talking to you about diversity, it makes sure that there is a diverse variety of bacteria that's thriving in your gut. It's like one of these areas here, right? There's grass, there's flowers, there's plants, there's bees, there's a complete ecosystem. So you are enabling that ecosystem to thrive. Now, when we do this buying on apps, the cognitive overload allows us to not experiment with too many varieties of fruits and vegetables that we buy. Typically, and I want you to introspect, and anybody who's listening to this, introspect, on how many varieties do you buy in a week? Most likely, you would say that we more or less eat the same vegetables week after week after week. It's the same lot. In some cases, it may be 5 or 6. In some cases, it may be at max 10 or 12. A good, healthy body would require at least 30 varieties a week. Right? Again, all these are thumb rules, right? So one idea would be to not push away certain foods, not push away certain food groups, which a lot of fad diets ask you to do. And be mindful of what your body is saying to you. Your gut basically speaks to you. We were talking earlier and you were saying, I know certain things don't work with my body. Because of the environment we live in, you're rushing, lunch is hurried, dinner is probably in front of the TV or you're watching a movie. You're not mindful of what's going into your body. And importantly, you're not mindful of what that food is doing to you, how your body is responding to it. So in both cases, without a microbiome profiling, when we are more mindful of what's going in and how our body is responding to it, that would be the first common sense thing to do. Add a lot of variety of foods in your diet. Have so as to make sure that you're not giving a chance for certain bacteria to become bullies in your gut. And that's what happens when you stick to one food variety. One of my favorite elderly ladies whom we spoke to, we had told her, please reduce avocados. It's not helping you. Avocado is supposed to be the new superfood, and it's not helping you. It's increasing the wrong bacteria. And she said, I have 6 trees in my backyard and I eat avocado every day. And I was like, please send some to me. Don't eat avocados every day. So again, the intention would be to don't stop eating avocado, but balance it out with everything else in your diet. It's not just one fruit or one vegetable, so that you make sure that the population in the gut is diverse and inclusive. That also doesn't allow for the growth or the overwhelming growth of pathogens or disease-causing bacteria. So there's a multiple role there. So your gut is so full and so settled with a good bunch of or good group of bacteria that even if the pathogens exist, they don't play such a tremendous role in your gut.
So if I were to sort of also add to this, what I understand is whether you're going through stress, sleeplessness, or whatever, we've talked about quite a lot of scenarios. First step is to step back and look at what you're eating and whether that's going well or not with you. And then to diversify what you're eating itself.
Yes.
And be very cognizant of what you're eating.
And something that we don't give a lot of emphasis to is how good our sleep is. This respiratory activity that the body rejuvenates, where our body syncs with the circadian rhythm of the microbiome. They have their own cycles. We have a cycle. And the further these two cycles are from each other, the more the imbalance is going to be. So
how are they related?
That's an interesting question again. I mean, sorry, when I start smiling about these bacteria, my family gets very upset that, you smile about bugs now. What is with you? But it's very interesting that just like us, the bacteria in our gut have a life cycle. They're leading their own lives. In fact, at one point of time, I was trying to generate an AI image where, the bacteria is like one good community in the gut. There's roads, there's traffic, and the information is passed through information highways, and they're all doing their business. Some are farming, some are involved in maybe gardening and all that. So what the gut does then is that it will ensure that there is lesser inflammation. It will work well with your gut barrier. And those are the things that actually enable you to be stronger from inside. So the lining of your gut, how strong that is. And when I mean strong, it's not an iron lining, right? There is the permeability itself causes inflammation. It crosses over into some of the chemicals can cross over into the blood and actually spread through the body. So the inflammation is reduced. The immunity is increased. So there are multiple roles that these bacteria actually perform. And on the circadian rhythms, when these two are not matched, your body is working at a different pace and the bacteria are working at a different pace. So the recovery is not synchronized.
Is it like the body wants to rest, but then
all other activities are going on separately? It also means that when we say that, I slept for 12 hours but what time did you sleep? I slept at 2, I woke up at 2, that's 12 hours, that's great, but your body is out of sync. The light, the diurnal rhythms, the circadian rhythms, all that impact how your health is and whether you are synergizing with the bacteria inside you.
So if I remember back then when I was in my 20s, 30s also, when I was telling you this while driving here, I used to take a lot of pride in saying, I only sleep for 3 or 4 hours. That's a no. That's an indicator. Madam, step back and look at your gut.
Yeah. I mean, there are people who function very well with just 5 hours of sleep. There are different metrics of measuring the quality of sleep as well. Not just on how much. So sleep duration is one aspect. Sleep quality is one aspect. Sleep efficiency is another aspect. I can be in bed for 12 hours, but I fell asleep only maybe an hour, 2 hours after just lying around in bed, maybe looking at my phone. So that's not counted as rest. Your body is not rested. So if you look at all these different aspects, if you have got really good quality sleep for 5 hours, and when you wake up in the morning, the body is energized, it's ready to go, that is an indicator that your body is doing well with 5 hours. It's not just one metric. So if you have 5 hours of very disturbed sleep, intermittent awakenings, even bad dreams, nightmares, all that accounts for indication that the gut also is not in order and your sleep is not helping you restore.
This is a very powerful one. What's the weirdest cases you've seen?
We had a gentleman, slightly over 60, and we are an online service, largely online service. But between the team and particularly Bipin, we love meeting people. So when they say we want to come over and talk to you, we're very happy to do that. So typically after we deliver the report, we walk them through it so that the anxiety and the apprehension or better understanding of the report is there, and we alleviate any anxiety and apprehension. And this gentleman was about 60 plus, and he was very interesting. When he came in, very jovial, very happy, and he said, I just don't sleep well, and I do everything right. And now we are also curious. So often there is a confirmatory bias, right? That the person's doing everything right, but the bacteria look out of whack. So what's not sitting in? And you're like trying to put in different theories and seeing which one fits best. And that's when, the science and the R&D step in and say, hey, just hang on. Don't try to force fit anything. And that's a discipline that we have developed over the last maybe 2 years or so. So this gentleman comes in and he says, I do everything right. I even grow my food. Mm-hmm. He's from Bangalore, and growing your food itself was like, really, I grow my food, I eat on time, and I take these supplements. All of it looked fine. Extremely thin, not able to sleep well. And he says, I have a party once in a week. I invite friends over. So there is that social bit that you were talking about. He's not lonely. So now we are digging a little deeper, So what do you eat? What happens? So he says, everything is fine. But 6 o'clock every evening, I need to have some weed and some alcohol.
Oh, both?
Every day.
Both?
Every day, yes.
60-year-old, not bad.
Yeah. So, and I think there's that emoji with that face, right? I think all of us were sitting with that face, like, really. So, is there a connection between substance abuse and your gut? Certainly there is a connection. So I think that was a learning for us, because that became a part of our questionnaires as well. Are you into any kind of a substance abuse, including overindulgence in the phone?
Oh.
So yeah, so that does come under substance abuse. Off late, I can see a lot of youngsters saying, she's...
तो गया तुम लोग तो गए
तो anti phone most days.
That I know. Clearly I know.
But here's the chemical thing to it, right? Why do we watch the phone so much?
Dopamine hits.
So the dopamine hits are very tiny, right? So the dopamine constantly. And the dopamine, a lot of it, at least 50% of the dopamine, is produced by your bacteria. So what are you doing? You're overworking your system. You're overworking your gut. And a lot of that dopamine pathways are also, if they don't go through completely, also lead to inflammation. So if I were to look at the chemical pathway of dopamine, so that there is tyrosine, there's L-dopa and dopamine. So not only does the bacteria produce dopamine, it can also convert these precursors into dopamine, which means that if there is an overabundance of your body just pushing it to be produced, you are going to look at inflammation in different forms.
So you are being a bad manager to your own self, because you're making them work longer hours.
Your team is happy to hear that.
It's not the manager, it's you. You are being a shitty manager to your own self, isn't it?
I'm trying to sleep at 8:30. Like the phone usage.
That's
Now
true.
it's
Give
easier
work
now.
and go home and sleep.
True. Correct, no?
Yeah.
Work, sleep in time, put in a little bit of exercise. That's why Bipin slave drives all of us. He makes us climb 2 floors, 3 floors, and he's like sprightly climbing upstairs. I think once we had a very elderly gentleman come and Bipin made him climb 3 floors. I think at the 3rd floor, when I said the elderly gentleman, I thought we'll need an ambulance now. So I had to glare at Bipin, just ask, if they really want to climb upstairs, why don't you just show them the lift? But that also is going. In fact, one of our early researches was on how exercise impacts the microbiome, and the fact that athletes across the world, they have a very different microbiome from rest of us mere mortals. So we had done a very interesting study on how the athlete's gut looks like, and how it's different and why. Of course, they do have, their exercise regime does have a lot of protein as well, and their diet looks different. The nutrients they take in are different, but the way their gut is wired now is to produce and more efficiently utilize the energy that is being produced.
So this part about the brain-gut axis, can you talk a little bit about it? I think we missed talking about it with Bipin. What's it like? You talked about earlier when you were describing it, you said it's like a farm, there are many things happening, and it's a highway, a whole lot of things happening. Tell me a little more about.
Okay, let me step one step back, right? So you were asking Bipin also on how many cells and all that. So if I step a little back, you have the central nervous system, which is the brain, the spine, and all the neurons that come from that. I think there are about 80 billion neurons, if I'm not wrong. And then you have the peripheral nervous system, which connects all the other parts of the body to this brain and spine. And then you have the enteric nervous system, which is the nervous system which literally behaves on its own. It could behave independently, but it obviously also interacts with the central nervous system. This enteric nervous system basically lines the entire the gastrointestinal tract. And what's interesting about it is there is a chemical, there is a motor, there is a neurons that are present there. It's your enteric nervous system reacts when you eat a certain kind of food. You had very spicy biryani last night. So what happens to your gut is it reacts. There is more movement. If I were to take a very simple instance, so supposing you are a kind of person who has a lot of fiber, there's a lot of fiber in your diet. So the enteric nervous system senses that here there is fiber coming in, and it increases the movement in the gut. It pushes the gut to have more contractions and expansions. It's called peristalsis. So it allows it to move further. And as it moves further, the bacteria which feed on that fiber are now very happy. They're feeding on that fiber that's coming in, and they produce what is called SCFAs, or short-chain fatty acids. Short-chain fatty acids are metabolites that are essential for a lot of our body functions, including energy to us and our colon and our cells. So when these SCFAs are produced, the enteric nervous system is in turn made happy again. So the food that you eat impacts the enteric nervous system. The enteric nervous system does these certain activities that enable the fiber and the food to move along the gut, feeding the microbiome. The microbiome in turn creates metabolites that keep the enteric nervous system healthy and happy. So there are two ways in which the enteric nervous system or the microbiome interact with each other. One is on a chemical basis, like I said, the masala that you had last night. So this basically tests the environment, the chemical environment of the gut. It tests what is the nutrients that is coming in, it checks and thereby creates the right action to be taken by the right parts. It could create the pathogens that are coming in, it could create toxins that are coming in, and creates the right reactions. It can also energize your gut to produce more mucus to push this food along. Now, mucus is a good thing. It basically acts as a barrier to the gut so that your gut contents don't leak out in very crude words. But basically, it makes sure that the gut lining is kept intact. And the bacteria also help in keeping the gut lining intact. So there is a constant communication between the bacteria and your nervous system. And a lot of these neurotransmitters, very essential neurotransmitters, your dopamine precursors, serotonin precursors, all these which are produced in the gut are interacting with your brain through the enteric nervous system or the vagal nerve, which was what we were talking about. Imagine it like some kind of a information highway. So information goes up and information goes down as well. We were talking about Parkinson's a little while back. One of the most interesting parts about Parkinson is the reduction in the production of dopamine. Certain parts of the brain which produce dopamine and trigger certain neurons, that part of the brain basically doesn't function as it used to. And one of the ways of addressing that was also looking at what's happening in the gut. And there is people with Parkinson's have been seen in multiple studies to have constipation nearly a decade before the onset of motor symptoms. So your non-motor symptoms or non-neurocognitive symptoms have started nearly 10 years before you actually started showing symptoms of neurodegeneration.
Wow.
So what happens inside here is kind of impacting a lot of your body. So you were talking about it being the second brain. Of course, there is a whole lot of literature written on, butterflies in the gut,
Gut intuition
yeah,
and
into
all
gut.
that,
So there is something to it. Can we call it all dependent on the bacteria? That's a little simplistic for any biology. But that they play a huge role, that you cannot take away. And that there is a huge possibility to heal and recover and just be stronger. That is the hope. That is the excitement that we all work on.
I love this conversation. I think for me, the last 3 years has been on a journey to sort of look inwards. And I realized from not knowing myself to really liking myself,
Yeah.
this takes it to a new level itself.
Yeah.
Like you need to love your body considering how hard it's working.
Yes.
And you are the boss of it.
Yes. And we talk about longevity, right? It's, what's the point of living till 100 if you don't have quality of life? Yes. So you should be able to eat, drink, everything, go climb the mountain, go deep sea diving. You should be able to do that.
We're anyway going to live longer.
We're anyway going to live longer. Yeah.
Is it different for women?
Is the gut microbiome different for women? Yes, there has been a lot of study done on this, particularly predictably. I am very interested in that, especially on the favorite subject of peri and postmenopause. Yes, there is a lot of interaction between women's health and the gut microbiome. One of the questions I recall you asking, Bipin, was, how does a mother's health impact a baby's health? There's a lot of study that's coming out right now on mother and child health, on, what are the microbes that she transfers to the baby and how. So he was also mentioning about C-section or vaginal birth. As a baby comes through the vaginal birthing passage, a lot of the bacteria are passed on to the baby naturally. As the baby suckles on the mother's milk, through the human milk oligosaccharides, bacteria are transferred. So the mother's health through her pregnancy and before will impact what she's passing on to the baby, not just in terms of overall genetics, but also in terms of the microbial genes that she passes on. So, so in that sense, yes, women's health. There is a lot of research that we have seen on postnatal depression in women whose microbiome has been disturbed. So so there is a huge connection between a lot of these hormones, estrogen production, as well with the gut microbiome. So those are areas of again of hope and excitement, that finally there'll be focus on issues that
I think as women, I'm trying to correlate, and maybe this is just faltu ka baat. Our body changes when we are hitting adolescence.
Yes.
And then motherhood. And then again in our 30s or late 30s, perimenopause. And then we go through menopause. Bloody men are so weird. They don't go through anything.
They don't go through anything.
And we go through all of this, and in each one of these, along with the gut, the hormones add masala to it.
You know, at the risk of sounding extremely feminist about it, and this is something that I've been cribbing in office for a while, is that the amount of research that has happened on women's health is abysmal. It's absolutely abysmal. About 3 to 4% of the world's population suffers from erectile dysfunction. And yet the billions of dollars that are spent on it, right? The kind of research that is done on it, against the fact that 50% of the women of the world's population is going to go through, a menstrual cycles, they're going to go through childbirth, they're going to go through perimenopause and menopause. The kind of research that's done on that is pitiful, right? So it's not so much as a complaint, but again, like I said, it's opportunity out there. That there is so much to learn and to do and to help women to cope with what is considered to be such a normal part of their lives. So
While driving here, there was this conversation, and I think I have to go. It's still related to this topic. We'll just go a little deeper there. When we get these headaches and all that during that time of the month,
yeah.
it's not necessarily that time of the month that's causing it. It's a combination of the gut and
Yes.
the changes that are happening.
Yes. To be very honest, I don't have a lot of wisdom on it right now, on what exactly is causing these headaches. Bloating, again, there is a lot of research done on premenstrual bloating and premenstrual cramping, what happens, and because there is a stress associated with that as well. So there is a lot of research, but I think we need to do a little more of our digging to understand that pathway a little better. We know it's there. We know that we need to research it a little bit more.
For our audience who's actually now hooked on, if they've lasted this long, then they've really got hooked on. What are things they must be reading, watching, following to get more information? Of course,
As
you guys, and call it out. What are things that you would recommend one should be really checking out, following to just stay on top? If you're on the path of like, wow, I need to understand my body better.
So there is not one single source for it, but there would be an urge to be a little more balanced and not get very carried away by fad foods, fad diets, this urge to lose weight quickly. I think that's the urge to look good. When you're good inside, you're going to look good outside. You were talking about this lady with very good skin. Of course, unfortunately, a lot of them inherit it, annoying people. They inherit good health, they inherit good skin, good hair. But a lot of it can be determined by what you eat and what your lifestyle is like. What should they be reading? Again, I don't know if I can point you to one place saying here is reliable information. We are all getting our research through research papers and adding the little bit of maybe salt to it and saying, let's take it with a pinch of salt, everything that, basically adding more data to what you're reading before you take action on it. If anybody here is into exercise, in a lot of gymming, ask questions before your gym instructor thrusts supplements into your hand. Ask a lot of questions. Why do I need this? What in my diet can supplement the same nutrition? If your nutritionist is asking you to go on a particular diet, ask questions. Be a pain, basically. Don't treat your body lightly.
I have a friend, my best friend lives in LA. So every time I talk to her, one of the things she once mentioned is, Sowjanya, when we go to the doctor here, we spend close to 45 minutes with the doctor. And when we go, we are like a walking, talking encyclopedia who's
Yes.
walking in and asking so many questions to the doctor. And so she's like, how many minutes do you spend with your doctor? It's like, like, first of all, going in there, it's a big problem. Once I'm there, it's how quickly can I get out?
Right.
So what you're saying is become so aware that you start asking really important questions about yourself.
Different questions. Every headache doesn't mean you're going to die. Every time you have a tummy ache doesn't mean you have some really terrible cancer or something. But being aware of it, the periodicity of it, the frequency of it, the intensity of it, you should be able to understand your body a little better. You should be able to ask the right questions. You don't pick up anything and everything and give it to your child. Why would you do that to your body, right? You're wary of what you're giving to your child. You ask questions. I know a lot of mothers who have also gone through every ingredient that is there at the back of the medicine. Maybe that's a little extreme, but do your research. I mean, if information is so easily available, and reach out to the right experts to take their opinion as well, because there is a lot of conflicting information out there as well. So it's all right. I mean, doctors are now also becoming very, very humane. They understand that you are all Google doctors. They understand that as well. So, but that's all right. That's okay.
For someone who's living alone, like, almost all my team members have left their hometown. They're staying here. It's all Swiggy, or they cook themselves. I don't know what else. Or their girlfriends come and cook. I don't know.
There are girlfriends who go to their boyfriends' houses and cook.
No, right? Not anymore. If they're doing that, hello, wake up. Not really required. So, but assuming they're living alone and the choices are Swiggy, Zomato, and some of these, how do you go about?
Yeah.
Is that your question or is it Divya question?
You can ask. She's pointing to me, Renuka.
It's her. Okay.
So that's a tough one. In fact, one of the reasons that we see slower results in the younger people, especially those who stay alone, is because a lot of it is dependent on them and they can't define what they're going to eat that day. So it is a tough problem to solve, and it does require some investment from your own side on what you choose. It's possible that you're short of time. And as my kids tell me that you're an old woman now, you say eat healthy, but I think eventually it comes down to the choices that you make. A very young boy we had had severe IBS. He had done everything before he came to us. I think it was about 26 or 27. And
At 26, he had IBS.
actually, a lot of young people have IBS. A lot of young people. IBS is indiscriminate. It has no age bars to it. A lot of it is, I mean, one could say the IBS is irritable bowel syndrome is a kind of a cyclical thing with, stress aggravating it, or IBS itself being aggravated by stress, and it's like a two-way thing. But this young man, maybe about 27, 28, had already done everything that needed to be done. And one of the things we, of course, look for when we are talking to them is, has there been a past gastrointestinal infection? There had been that. But in his college days, he did 4 years of engineering. And all 4 years of engineering, he was waking up to sutta, chai, samosa. That is my favorite boy. He's like, it's going to show up, right? Because when your body is healthy in its prime, 18, 21, 22, 23, you are like, your body has everything going for it and you're abusing it. On an empty stomach, you have sutta, chai and samosa. And for those who don't know sutta, it's basically a cigarette. And you have a chai and a samosa. Again, you are increasing the gut's vulnerability for any external toxicity or pathogen. So he did have a gastrointestinal infection, I think 6 months after he finished college. And that gastrointestinal infection, if I'm not wrong, it was an H. pylori infection. It stays with you. It doesn't go with antibiotics. You might have a reduction of it, but there is always a chance of remission. So any good gastrointestinal doctor worth his salt will do a typical check for any of these pre-existing conditions as well.
So that 6 months he would have had symptoms?
He might have had, yes.
Like what? Loosies?
It could be, yeah, it could be abdominal pain, cramps, loosies, all severe bloating, flatulence, and it could be erratic, unexplained, lasting for, and we have people who have come to us for IBS with 7 to 8 years of living with it. There's no way out of it. You just learn to deal with it. You just stop eating foods which you believe will worsen it.
Yeah, that's a long cycle. I was talking to you. For me, at least, I don't know if this is the right way, but I started observing what doesn't work well with my body.
Yeah.
Like tur dal. And I think Divya's conversation will be more interesting into that, right?
Yeah.
Like finding out, it may be in the same family. Tur dal works for my sister,
Just
my mother, but
eliminating,
not for me.
Yeah.
And that's quite
start
normal.
eliminating. And that's a lot of guesswork, right? And that's what the microbiome does. That instead of doing the guesswork, why don't we see which are the bacteria that are actually causing this havoc?
So I remember when I first came to y'all, collecting that sample during COVID was such a difficult process. I don't know if anybody's collected poop sample. It's like really crazy. And then there was no way to send it to y'all. And so I had to do one of the regular services and box it as food item and send it. But when you opened it, what happens in your lab? Imagine opening so much poop out there. Does it spill on you? What happens? Oh my God, that's such a gross thing.
I know. Yeah, so of course we've been through this, the poop jokes and, oh, you're so crappy and we take your crap and nobody takes your shit, we do. We've been through all this. Of course, we've had a lot of branding, marketing people saying,
So I
don't
think when
use
shit
this.
hits rock bottom, come to us should be your branding.
Correct. And we've been through that, and we've got really censured by a lot of people saying that, be a little serious. But also, I think the interesting story was when we started off, we also didn't know how this is collected. The market was new. There was nothing available. So we tried a whole lot of things. I don't know if you all seen this movie called Pushpak from the 80s.
The silent one.
Yeah, it's a silent movie. I would suggest all of you see it. But there were times when Bipin and I, like right in the early days, we would, all of us would sample. And we had to, source dry ice.
What do you mean by sample?
You go and poop, right? You poop into some container and then you take a couple of scoops of that
You
poop.
yourself.
We all did it, right? You need to do it yourself to understand the pain of it. And that's when the user friendliness of it comes in. If you haven't felt the pain, how will you feel, the person's pain who's sampling it? It is a mind block, right? And my mother-in-law used to be in my house in those days. So we had asked all our team, everybody has to sample. And when they used to sample, I used to wrap it in paper and...
In paper?
Not the poop, the containers
Okay.
and the dry ice and all that, sitting in dry ice, and we used to wrap it and we used to keep it near the door. And my poor mother-in-law was so sweet. She would never ask me what it is. But if she had, I would have no answer to give her. And we've come a long way from there. So what we do right now is, of course, the box looks quite premium. It looks easy to use. It looks like a mobile phone box. It's easy.
It looks like an iPhone box.
Yes, it looks like an iPhone box. There is a little container inside. It's a little paper container. There is a spoon. There is a container. There are tissues. There are wet wipes for you to kind of sanitize eventually. And there is a vial which contains what is called the stabilizer fluid. The stabilizer fluid basically does not allow the DNA to degrade. We don't want the DNA to kind of get spoiled, or the matter to get spoiled, the fecal matter to get spoiled. So you take about 3 scoops of the poop from the container, and
It's got the box. You want it?
can you just show me the box?
Only y'all can find the difference.
I don't know.
The stool box.
Yes, that's what it says. It's the stool box.
Nice design.
Yeah. And so there is a vial inside. with a little bit of this fluid.
Okay.
That's a preservative fluid that does not allow your stool to degrade.
So this is to protect the DNA
Of
in
the
you.
bacteria, yes. So you put it inside this, and after this, it does stay for a good amount of time. So you don't have to worry that, oh my God, I pooped, now I need to get rid of it right away. So it can be sent the next day, the day after that. That's not a problem.
So it's got like 48 hours life.
It has actually almost 2 months of life. Primarily because a lot of women don't want to sample if their periods are going on. We advise them not to, not because of any other reason, that it's just uncomfortable. It's just icky and it's uncomfortable. We also advise people not to sample if they have had antibiotics very recently because the gut flora has changed. We ask them to give it at least a 2 to 4 week gap before they sample, or they've been through a surgery. There's a nice instruction manual that is there, which basically tells you what to do. And this little box contains everything that you need. It has a little spoon as well.
Yeah, see the spoon, okay. It was a shock.
So there's a spoon, there's a garbage bag, there's wet wipes, and this kind of folds out into a carton. So you just poop into that, and the garbage bag takes care of your disposal.
Wait, you poop into that and then you
Yes.
put that poop with the spoon?
Have I done it right? You just take it from here. You put 3 spoons into the bottle, close the lid tightly, and shake. And then let us know that you're done with your business, and we'll come and pick it up.
Thank you for this.
Thank
so
you.
has the poop fallen in the lab and have you had to scoop it out?
So the mechanism is different. The lab manages it very differently, which is why we ask them to send it back in this box. So because it reaches, it's nicely padded. It
have you
doesn't.
tied up with Swiggy or Zomato?
So we work with multiple logistics partners, not with Swiggy, but there are other partners we work with for pickup and drop.
Okay.
And a lot of times we try to club samples and send them, yes. So, and take it to the lab. I have to admit, I haven't seen the process of what the lab does when it gets the sample, but right now the sample becomes like a fluid because it's nicely, and they take it through processes which kind of homogenizes the mixture.
So you have a poop collector who collects all the poops. Wow. See, you're so lucky you're standing behind the camera. And you're not the poop collector.
But I mean, it's done so. How do you say it? Antiseptically in some ways.
Yeah.
Because with this you don't know, right? And the chances of it, there is, even when it comes to you, when you're sending it back, there's a fully sealed poly bag that it comes back in.
Yeah.
So whoever is handling it, we have not had any accidents with it at all because it's almost foolproof now. Yeah. So yeah.
No,
So
the accident happens when you scoop it from one and put it in the other.
which is why we provide all the wipes and everything and the garbage bags and the disposals to make sure that doesn't happen.
Thank you for keeping this otherwise hilarious conversation so comfortably serious.
We've had. I'm telling you, those early days. Now that you have youngsters and we are all well on our way, I'm going to take this off. Can I? No, I'm just moving.
Continue and then
Bipin, where is Bipin?
behind.
Bipin made us do, in order for us to test multiple vendors, multiple processes of sequencing itself. So 4 vials at a time.
Oh.
So you sit with a pre-labeled vial 1, vial 2, vial 3, vial 4, the same sample. Please don't add this into this. But we had to do the testings for us to understand the processes, right?
Oh, your lab must have been a stink.
It wasn't. That time we were working with a lot of labs close by. And so we would just directly go and hand it over to them. So, and they know how to handle biomatter. So it's not, like I said, it's not like you're opening a bottle of poop. And it does go instantly into processing. So it should not be a problem.
Got it.
Yeah.
So can I offer something to our audience who've come last till here to say, hey, if you are still interested in really understanding your gut, is there a way we can give something like a scan or something like that so that
we'll create a coupon code for you.
Lovely.
For this particular podcast, and just use that coupon code, and
lovely.
We'll take it forward from there.
Lovely. This conversation is not paid in any way, it's not sponsored in any way. This is us doing this very intentionally because we believe that this needs to be talked about.
Thank you.
Shall
Okay,
we?
let's start from you and what do you do at IOM?
Yeah, I had the bioprocess research division at IOM Bioworks. Basically, I hold a doctoral degree in the field of functional foods and nutraceuticals from Central Food Technological Research Institute, Mysore.
What does that mean?
It's a CSAR lab which works on various aspects of food technology. So they bring in food related technology to address various societal problems. This is a lab run by Government of India.
What do you do there? Like you look
I-
at the origin of food or the quality of the grains? What is it?
At IOM Bioworks,
No, the lab.
there I did my PhD on psychobiotics. What are psychobiotics? These are a group of probiotic bacteria which have ability to impact your mental health. So we formulated various Ayurvedic formulations and then screened and selected a particular psychobiotic microorganisms from these foods and then evaluated its ability to impact your brain, whether they have ability to produce neurotransmitters, whether they have ability to reduce the stress in the brain. So all of these studies were supported by mice model. We cultured mice and then fed a particular psychotropic organism to it and then saw the end effect.
Wow.
So this was my PhD work.
We do this in India.
Yes, we do this in India. And every biotech lab houses honeymoon culture facility. So each of these biomolecules or any phytonutrients or any food molecules that hits the market should follow these rigorous protocols.
Okay. And so in IOM, what do you do?
In IOM Bioworks, we specifically screen few phytonutrients. So we adopt a dual approach formulation strategy wherein we complement traditional Ayurvedic recipe with a modern nutritional science. So we take a blend of various Ayurvedic ingredients as a source of phytonutrients. It could be ashwagandha, it could be bacopa, which are rich in phytonutrients. We select these key ingredients which are reported to have ability to stimulate your mental health effect, and then this is complementing with a clinically driven nutraceutical molecules. It could be prebiotics, it could be omega-3 fatty acids such as DHA or EPA molecules, it could be essential amino acids like L-tyrosine which have ability to modulate your brain. So we carefully choose the specific ingredients from Ayurvedic formulation as well as from a clinically driven nutraceutical ingredient, and then we do validation experiments in order to substantiate our claim. Because we come from a domain of nutraceuticals, all of our claims should be backed with scientific evidence. In order to back with a scientific evidence, we follow a multi-step rigorous laboratory experiments. What we do is, as Renuka just mentioned, once we receive the stool samples in the lab, we isolate the DNA and then amplify using a specific primers in order to know what's in your gut. So from this, the DNA, which is derived through the stool sample which you have given us, we will know what is your gut diversity and abundance. With this, we wish to do a precision nutrition. What is precision nutrition? Now that you are aware, precision aid strike, we do precision nutrition. So the nutrition which is specific for your gut, which in turn based on your gut diversity and abundance, which is unique to you, which works only to you. And we all know every gut is different. Based on the bacterial abundance and diversity you have, we give a precision biomolecule which just works for your gut, which will drive you through a specific health benefits.
So if I sort of get this right, when they did the test, you get the report.
Yes.
Which sort of shows you how the bacterial distribution is. It also tells you what's causing what, which is good, which is bad, and all that stuff. Now, this research that is there in this thing that you just spoke about is to now start working on those bacteria that you want to bring up.
Yes.
And so it acts specifically for them
Yes.
to sort of change the ecosystem of your gut to bring a balance back.
Yes.
And it's so targeted.
Yes.
It's a one-time thing that you sort of shake to bring it. After that, it is your nutrition that you then.
Yes, exactly. So what we do is we have a AI driven pipeline. So given a particular food to you with your bacterial diversity and abundance, our pipeline will tell you whether the food works for you or not. Whether you take 100 grams of apple. So we all know we eat food as a source of nutrients, right? So apple could be rich in fibers like pectin, cellulose. It could be rich in phytonutrients like quercetin, which might offer specific health benefit. So our AI driven pipeline will tell you whether given a particular food for a particular gut condition, whether will you be able to see a change. So that optimal shifting from the gut dysbiosis to an optimal gut, which will drive you through a particular health condition. So this is answered by our AI-driven pipeline. So without doing any experiments, our in silico pipeline will tell you a particular person eating so and so particular food, which is rich in K nutrients, will drive you through a specific health benefits or not.
Got it. And so, do you have to redo the test, or would you be able to predict based on how you're injecting each one?
We have to redo the test at two different time points. One, before starting the food treatment. The second, after you have finished the course of food treatment.
Got it. And how long is this period, Divya?
We advise you to take anywhere between 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay.
6 to 8 weeks is mandatory in order to see a visible results.
6 to 8 weeks, and you can target it, change the ecosystem. Wow.
Yes. So 6 to 8 weeks, it's mandatory to have these supplements that will.
Now, these are
See the
not
visible
like your
results.
supplements that we are used to, like magnesium supplements, etc., etc. These are more. Give me a perspective of these supplements.
So that's what I said. We adopt a dual approach formulation strategy. So for every condition of yours, it could be for stress issue, it could be for sleep issues or energy issues or any other issues of digestive health, we have a complementary approach. What is this complementary approach? It's a complement of Ayurvedic ingredients with a modern nutritional science, wherein we are combining these Ayurvedic ingredients with a clinically driven nutraceutical molecules. So those clinically driven nutraceutical molecules could be prebiotics. That is again depends on the type of the gut bacteria you have. Like you were mentioning about tur dal, right? So which is rich in high fiber, which is again a classical example of a prebiotic. So now your current gut condition is not capable of digesting the tur dal, which is rich in particular prebiotic molecule. There is no point of advising you to consume a tur dal. Right? So that is where the precision nutrition comes into picture. So based on your gut bacteria, we carefully choose a Ayurvedic ingredient complementing with a clinically relevant, clinically driven nutraceutical molecules that works best for you.
So if I eat 6 eggs in a day,
Yeah.
if my gut is not welcoming of the eggs, I might just be eating eggs.
Yes.
And it's of no use to me.
Yes. So what these bacteria do is when you consume apple or broccoli, might be rich in prebiotics or any phytonutrients, it will produce gut-derived metabolites. The examples of the gut-derived metabolites could be specific neurotransmitters like GABA or serotonin, which might impact your brain health, or might be any other metabolite which might offer you digestive health benefits. So these are the metabolites produced only by the gut bacteria, not by the host. So these are not host-derived metabolites. These are gut-derived metabolites. And these gut-derived metabolites will be produced only by your gut, which is rich in specific gut diversity and abundance that will drive you through a particular health condition.
Got it. So this is then given that it's not just necessarily, oh, I'm eating apples every day, I'm eating eggs every day, I'm eating proteins every day.
No.
And it doesn't mean I have a great gut.
No. So in case if you do not have a protein digester bacteria in it, there is no point of eating so many eggs. In case if you do not have fiber degrading bacteria, there is no point of eating tur dal. Right? So food is a major driving factor for healthy gut.
Wow. Wow. What are some myths that we all live with? That you as someone who specializes in this, like, can I just tell you?
Yeah, not every food will have an impact on your gut. That might drive you through allergic reactions too, because your gut doesn't have the ability to digest these specific foods. So, in order to eat the right food, first know your gut.
But how will you know? You don't know.
Come to
what
us,
is
we will do a
rejecting.
gut test.
So can I as a non IOM person who's not done the test or anything, can I see, oh, everybody's saying Apple helps me, but Apple is not working for me?
In order to gain that insights, the gut test is a must, and it's a
That's the only-
foundational test that we advise.
Is this like a missing discovery process that has been totally missing in our healthcare process itself?
Yes, currently there is more of research, on gut microbiome test. The research are still underway, and we have a lot more to do in this field.
Are there foods that sort of are not working with us and is stress related?
Stress related issues, obviously, the stress is a precursor for gut dysbiosis. Whenever you are stressed, the first thing that affects your gut. So, when you have a gut dysbiosis, there will always be an imbalance between the healthy bacteria and the detrimental bacteria. So, that will drive you through inflammation. And when your body is fighting inflammation, you have more of oxidative markers, which will again, combat stress, sleep issues, and energy issues.
So you're saying if I had a healthy gut, but I had a bad boss, and I'm stressed, or I'm going through some relationship issues and I'm stressed, something that used to digest really well and work well for my system suddenly has changed?
Yes, obviously. The external factors will also have a major impact on your gut. The temperature at which we get exposed to, the humid conditions, the physiological stress. So these are the key players which impacts your gut.
I'm like spellbound here.
Crazy.
Yeah.
No, I was curious, is there any possibility of self-assessing this?
There is
Like,
no self-assessment.
there's
You
no
have
way,
to
it's
come
not
to
even
us.
coming close to this. Like,
Or
not-
will you self-assess your gut bacteria?
Like, yeah, not in that detail, for sure, but to understand, like, a lot of people cannot afford this, right? This process on day-to-day basis, they are not aware or they can't go for, they won't see it as like a thing to do, right? So, in order to self-assess some of this on a day-to-day basis, how do we know, like, hey, this
To my
happens?
knowledge, there is no self-assessment on gut microbiome test. You have to get your gut microbiome test to know what's happening in your gut.
But I think then this is an important part of. So do you see this as easily accessible to all in like 5 years?
It will be, provided we work on costing.
What
It
what
will.
goes into the costing in the background, Divya?
The pipelines, the AI-driven pipelines we
What are
have
these
built up.
pipelines?
So this is an AI-driven pipeline. So once we have a DNA isolation done, we amplify using a specific primers in order to know the type of the bacterial genera you have in your gut. So that will be used as a raw file for our pipeline that will give you information on the different gut diversity and abundance you have. This is one factor. The second factor could be the costing that is related to DNA isolation and extraction procedures, the DNA stabilization fluid. It's again a patented fluid. Currently, we are outsourcing our the samples. So the DNA patented stabilization fluid. So these are all the
Costs
factors that goes in for the costing of the gut microbiome test.
Got it. And these are all done in India, or
Yes,
are you
yes,
getting
these
these?
are yes, the sequencing. The major factor is the sequencing. We need to sequence, right? Once we isolate the DNA, amplify using a specific primers, we need to sequence.
What do you mean by sequencing?
Sequencing is getting to know the different type of bacterial genera present in your gut through the stool samples we have received. So that's
So
a
that is
major
that,
driving factor.
That's that pie chart that you'll give us.
Yes.
Of here's the whole set of bacteria you have, and this is the percentage. That's what you
Percentage,
call
yes,
as
yes,
sequencing.
yes. So we wanna bring the change from the current state to an optimal state, so that you see the reduced stress or sleep issues or the energy issues, or some sort of discomfort you have been facing with respect to digestive disorders. So how we can bring the change from the current state to an optimal functioning stage.
Wow. I found this very useful. So when I took my report and went to the doctor and I showed it, I think the conversation was very different. as against without it. I think that would have been a trial and error. Whereas with this, it was like, oh, where did you get this from? And that was a very...
You took the report which was given by us?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. He was kind.
She was one of our early.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
okay.
why I remember how I took the...
What's in your gut then?
It's a shit. And like, I think now it should be pretty cool. I think 2 years back, I was a chain smoker. I used to have a lot of neat whiskeys, a lot of stress. Work was very hectic. Long hours, eat outside pretty much 5 days a week. There was no fiber. I don't like vegetables. I'm a meat eater. I'm a hardcore meat eater. I hardly eat rice. I don't drink water much. So I think there was all telltale signs. Sleep was a problem, but I used to brag about I only sleep very little kind of thing. But I think at some point I realized, dude, you need to change. And I think that's where we started. It's been a long way now. No smoking, no drinking.
Good.
Food is much better. I think it can be much better.
Have you taken our supplements?
No,
You
tried
should.
yours just now. But that's what you mean. That's
Yes,
the
yes.
prebiotic that you're talking about?
It's a component A, which is an Ayurvedic formulation. Along with this, you would be getting a capsule of prebiotics.
I see.
So it's a dual approach strategy.
I see.
So you have to take 5 grams of this powder, which is an Ayurvedic formulation. Along with that, you have to consume 1 pill of prebiotics.
But you can't do all this without the gut test. Can you, without doing the gut test, can you start on some of these prebiotics?
No. It would be too generic in nature. That might not help you.
Because
So in
of
order
each
to know
one's-
the right prebiotics, you have to get your gut microbiome test. And that's mandatory.
Got it. Any questions from
Can
you?
we call those an Ayurvedic component A as prebiotic activators?
Can we call those as phytonutrients?
Sure.
Phytonutrients.
Sure. So just saying Ayurvedic herbal formulation.
Which are rich in phytonutrients. Phytonutrients meaning nutrients derived from
Plants. From plants.
from plants.
Got it.
So what we are currently doing is we are coming up with a tailored formulations. We have 2 focus. The first focus is on gut-brain axis, targeting mental wellness, again through gut test. The second one is to come up with the formulations to treat various digestive ailments. So under digestive ailments, we have 5 tailored formulations. 1 to treat diarrhea, constipation, acidity, acid reflux, and general gut well-being. Under gut-brain axis, we have 3 tailored formulations to address your sleep issues, energy issues, as well as your stress issues. So all of these formulations will be validated in our lab. So wherein we follow a multi-step rigorous protocol in order to validate our claim. So the one which you tested is for stress reduction. So when we say we have a formulation, tailored formulation to bring down your stress, we need to validate. Because without validation, it doesn't make sense. Because these comes under a category called functional foods. So what are functional foods? These are the foods which will give you extra benefits beyond meeting your basic calorie demand. So in addition to meeting your calorie demands, it also offers specific health benefits. So in this case, it would be reducing your stress levels. So in order to prove our health claim, what we do is we adopt an experimental approach wherein, as I said, all our health claim is targeted towards modulating your gut microbiome. We culture specific gut bacteria in the lab and feed with these formulations, that is phytonutrients, as well as prebiotics, and see what is happening to the growth rate of a particular bacteria. So the key outcome would be it should stimulate the growth of the bacteria which we intend to bring the change, and it should reduce the ability of the growth of the pathogenic bacteria.
Got it. So it's almost like you're growing lab
Yes,
mice.
yes,
but here
yes.
to the
It's-
mice,
yeah, the first
it's the
step would be the culturing the bacteria.
But that is an expensive process.
It's an expensive process because when we say a functional food, all of our health claims should be backed with scientific evidence. Without scientific evidence, nobody will believe you. None of the clients will come to us and say, okay, you have tailored formulations, come on, give me, we will eat it, and then, come back with the report. No.
That doesn't work.
Yeah, so we have to back with the scientific evidence. In order to back with the scientific evidence, we are following a multi-step laboratory experimental approach. So once we have this, we culture the brain cells. I'm just telling the experimental approach for the stress reduction formulation.
Yeah.
So we culture the brain cells, this specifically neuroblastoma cell lines. We culture these mice brain cells, feed it with these phytonutrients and prebiotics, and see what is happening to the morphology of the brain cells.
All this is done here.
Yes, it's done here. And then
I like how patiently she's the yes, it's done here, Sowjanya. Wow.
yes,
Okay.
it's done here. And then we see a group of cells will be called as control cells. It doesn't undergo any sort of treatment. And the next set of cells will be fed with either phytonutrients or a prebiotics, and we compare what's happening to the cell morphology of the control cells as well as the treated cells. If there is any change in the morphology, it shouldn't happen, right? Because these are the natural supplements. We don't wish to change the morphology of the brain cells. If we change the morphology, again, the formulation might not be as effective as we wish to be. We also see what is happening to the stress markers in comparison to the control, whether there is an increase in the reduction of the stress levels or decline. So
So
these,
you're saying these offerings that you've got is after this level of research.
yes,
And then you're continuing the research in new areas.
Yes.
So it's only going to get better and better.
better and better. We don't stop here. We also do the mice studies. We cultivate mice, laboratory mice, any rodent model, not only mice. It could be rat, mice, or a rabbit, and then feed it with our formulation and see how it is impacting the various organs. It could be liver, kidney, brain cells. What we call it as acute toxicity studies, whether the formulation is inducing any toxicity to the various organs. If not, then we have to establish the effective dose, the dose required to see the stress reduction levels in humans. So we establish the maximum tolerable dose as well as the effective dose required to see the stress reduction. And then we have to extrapolate to the clinical trials, wherein we recruit human subjects, healthy human subjects, and then give with specific portion of these formulations and see whether we are able to drive the clinical outcome.
Very interesting.
So these are the set of laboratory
How many
experiments.
months or years does it take for one?
It takes
Test
about
it.
1 year.
1 year for
One year for one formulation. 1 year for one formulation, because science is not overnight study, right?
Yeah.
So it takes ages.
Are you a very patient person?
We have to be because we come from science domain. We have to be. We can't build biomolecules overnight,
Overnight,
right?
is it?
Yeah.
So while coming, you were talking about how, and that was a interesting conversation while we were driving here. Soaked versus non-soaked
Yes.
lentils.
Yes.
Can you talk a bit about it? Because
What
I need to even
happens?
know.
Yeah, what happens when you soak is that we have a specific molecule called phytic acid, which is again a nutrient derived from a plant source. The plant produces this phytic acid in order to store phosphorus. So now, when you consume
phosphorus, like the phosphorus on the tip of a matchstick.
the edible phosphorus, I mean.
Okay.
Edible phosphorus. When you say proteins or amino acids, the proteins are made up of amino acids. The amino acids have certain portion of phosphorus in it.
Okay.
So now to build the amino acid by the plants, they produce this molecule called phytic acid. So now when you consume this phytic acid, what happens inside the human body? It complexes with various minerals like iron or other minerals like calcium, and it hinders its bioavailability. That's why it is called anti-nutritional factor. In order to reduce the phytic acid content in legumes or nuts, you have to soak. That is why it is advised to soak the nuts before you eat, so that it will drive you through better bioavailability. It will not hinder the mineral absorption. It will enhance your digestibility. That's the science behind soaking the nuts.
And these days we no longer do some of these things itself.
Most of us do. Most
You-
of us
you do?
do. Yes, we do. How about you? Don't you soak the nuts
You
before?
cook,
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I have to.
You
but you soak.
the almonds.
Peanuts, no. So almonds.
Almonds. It's better if you
It's
soak.
all over internet. They keep saying that phytic acid is like the protected layer for the.
Yes.
To protect it from insects or anything, I don't know, so that it has that layer and it is harmful for us. Not like in volume, but
It's not harmful. It's endures the bioavailability of the various minerals.
yeah, for our gut bacteria.
So we were talking about it while driving and coming because I told her that I have a problem with tur dal.
Throughout this journey, tur dal being the
Tur dal has been a topic of conversation.
The
but
tur
that's
dal
what-
is rich in high fiber, the prebiotics. That is what, in case if you do not have a fiber degrading bacteria, there is no point of you consuming tur dal.
So it's not as simple as, oh, I'm eating all plant-based diet, so I'm healthy.
No, you should have the right bacteria for fermentation process to happen.
Wow. It's such an interesting space, Bipin.
Thank you very much.
Why did you get into it?
I got because of my own health issues.
Yeah. Anything else you want to tell to a common person who's
So the
not
food
aware?
is a major driving factor for your gut. So to know what's happening in your gut, come to us, get our gut microbiome test done, and we will tell you the right food that needs to be eaten.
heavy plug.
a doctor doing different job now. Look at
Thank
your
you.
growth.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Divya. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Shortest, anything you
Let's
guys
have
want to ask?
samosas now.
Yeah.
We good? Yeah? Well, thank you.